Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. Joan served the state of California as a member on the Arts Council and on the Film Commission. She was formerly on the Architectural Commission and fulfilled 2 terms on the Fine Arts Commission for the city of Beverly Hills. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview magazine, Condé Nast Publications, and the Hearst Corporation, Joan covered the world of fashion, the mysteries of food, the excitement of theater, and the international art scene. She continues to find people who are on the cutting edge of their professions. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're taping here at the Hollywood Museum on Highland Avenue, and we're in the historic Max Factor building where all the Hollywood stars used to come to have their makeup done. Our guests are singer-comedian Roxanne Reese and food expert Fran Berger. Actor, singer, comedian Roxanne Reese was born and raised in Washington, D.C., graduated with a bachelor's from Howard University, and she's been on stages across the United States, including Broadway. She's been in TV series and in films. And were you doing all this training for the stage at Howard?
No, actually. Actually, I started singing in nightclubs when I was 16 years old.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and once I entered college, that slowed up a bit, so I majored in sociology.
Well, that's not acting, is it?
Well, yeah, to some degree it is, because, you know, social workers would come to our house when I was growing up, and they were really cold. And I said, I'm going to be a social worker, and I'm going to be a good social worker.
You're not going to be cold like them?
I'm not going to be cold like that. I'm going to be warm, and I'm going to give people whatever they need. Wow. And one day I was walking on campus, and I saw the Building of Fine Arts. And so I just walked in there, and I walked into an acting class, Vera Katz's acting class. And I watched the actors on stage, the students, and I said, I want to do this. So I went over there and started minoring in theater.
Oh, you did?
I did.
But you'd already been singing, right?
I've been singing, but not acting, you know?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, not acting. So I went there and enrolled in her class, Vera Katz's class, and it just opened up my world. As a matter of fact, I ended up getting the Best Actress Award at Howard University.
So they did have an acting program there. They had a fine arts program?
Fine arts program, yes.
But they also had very serious classes there.
Oh, yeah, like sociology,
yeah, exactly.
biology, chemistry.
So when did you start being funny? Here we have you. We have you singing and we have you acting now.
When I started being funny, when I came out to Los Angeles.
Oh.
And Connie Marie Brazelton and myself went to the Harvey Lembeck comedy improv
Connie
class.
Brazelton?
Connie Marie Brazelton is my dear friend for a lot of years. As a matter of fact, she hooked the 2 of us up today.
My dance teacher. She's tough, Connie.
She is, but she's good. Connie's a great teacher.
She really is.
Yes, she really
and she's
is.
trained so
Yes.
much. She knows exactly what to tell you to do.
Yes.
And she has all these little shortcuts. Number 4 for a passe.
Yes, she's really a great teacher.
She's really good. So you went together? You worked together?
Yes, we worked. As a matter of fact, we worked together in the Broadway show for Color Girls, but I did it on Broadway. But after the show closed on Broadway, we ended up doing it in Seattle. Regional theater together.
And Seattle's great, right?
Oh, yeah. I had a ball in Seattle. I mean, I was doing the flamenco dance at the clubs after we got off
because then you would have places to go. There's lots of...
Yes, I love it. We had a good time in
Seattle.
Seattle.
Well, so you started being funny when you got here.
That's
where we started.
Well, Connie and I met. Connie... I was doing a show called A Raisin in the Sun, and I was playing Beneatha. And in that show, you had to do an African dance. So Connie and her mentor came to train me to do for for that role.
Where was that?
This was in New York City, and we were going to Springfield, Massachusetts to do A Raisin in the Sun. And Connie and I just connected. And so she said, whenever you come out to California, let's hook up. So when I came out there, we hooked up, and then we enrolled in Harvey Lembeck's class, and I started, you know, I like comedy, and she's very funny, and I feel like I got a knack for comedy also, and so we enrolled in that. then I went on to work with a group called Mixed Nuts, which was a comedy improv group.
It was an improv group.
Yes,
I
comedy
remember.
improv.
Who was part of that group?
Cal Gibson was the founder of that particular group.
And that was here, right?
That was in Los Angeles.
Well, let's go back to Howard. You left Howard.
Yes, I
You were
graduated.
singing, acting, graduating. You were in sociology. But then you got to New York.
I got to New York and did Broadway.
But you toured with it? You got a role?
I got a role. Well, it was about 5 months after I got to New York.
But that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Were there connections from Howard to
Well,
New
actually,
York?
when I first got to New York, I was working with doing my sociology skills.
You were?
Yes, I was working with at a halfway house.
Oh, well, that must have made your parents happy. You were
Yes,
using your...
with drug addicts, and I realized, they stressed me out so bad. I realized that this is not for me. I can't. I get too emotional and too involved. So I said, this is not for me. So I pursued my acting.
But with an acting, you can be those people, but you don't have to be those people.
And I tend to have a tendency to take that stuff on
Do you?
and take it home. So it was no place to be somebody that I toured with. And I got back to New
no
York.
place to be somebody.
And I paid Evie. And then I went on. I auditioned for Color Girls that was already on Broadway.
Oh, and then
I
you went
auditioned for
into
Oz
it?
Scott, the director Oz Scott, and I came in as an understudy for 5 months.
Wow.
And I was having a ball just being an understudy. I had my little, I was hooking a rug, I was hooking my rug. And one day he came up to my dressing room. He said, "Roxanne, you're going into the show." I said, "Why?"
Usually they jump, right?
Right, because he said, Janet Leigh was leaving the show and he wanted me to come in. So after 5 months as being an understudy on Broadway,
wow.
I went into the show for 2 years.
Is that right?
Yes, for 2 years. I
That
went
was
to the
so
show.
great.
Yes, it was. It was one of the
So
pivotal
lucky
points in
you
my
were
life.
so young and
Yes,
so
yeah.
new.
And so new. They like them young and new, don't they?
Let's not talk about that. But then you were on the Goodman stage, which is great in Chicago.
Yes. Oh, and that's like the I was nominated for a Jeff Award. That was Regina Taylor. Regina Taylor, famous writer, actress. It was her play called Magnolia.
Magnolia. Right.
And it was a 12-member cast. And out of the 12-member cast, I was the one who got nominated for a Jeff Award, which is equivalent to a Tony Award.
That's so great.
Yeah.
So you've had this fantastic background, and then you opened as a comedian, right?
Yeah,
or from Richard Pryor?
For Richard Pryor, yes. Richard
How
saw
did
me.
that happen?
Well, how did that happen? I was at the Comedy Store performing one night, and Richard. This is the time when Richard was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. But he was making a comeback. So he was at the Comedy Store, and I was performing in the original room, and I was doing my Judy Garland bit because I do singing comedic impressions.
Oh,
If the birds fly. And I was doing that. He thought I was singing to a tape. And he said, he told his secretary later, I found out, Marilyn, he said, "Is she singing or is that a tape?"
Is it
Anyway,
really?
Is it really her? So anyway, I go home that night, and the next day I get a call from Marilyn, his secretary, saying, "Mr. Richard Pryor wants you to open for him in San Francisco next weekend." I said, "Okay, who's playing on the phone?"
Exactly.
I thought somebody playing. She said, "No, this is Marilyn, Richard Pryor's secretary, and he would like for you to open up for him." And
he didn't have anyone to open next week
well,
like
if
that?
he did, he got
He
me
was
to do
good.
it because I was that next weekend. I was on a Learjet with him, sitting across.
Oh,
from
you were
me.
in his.
Yes.
Wow.
It was the most memorable experience.
Did
of my
you
life.
know him at all?
Well, this is so funny. When I was 16 years old, I went to see Richard Pryor in Washington, D.C., my sister and myself, my baby sister, Debbie, but she's much younger than I am. And this is when Richard was on fire. I mean, when he just, like, gut bucket laugh, just made you laugh. And I stood up and I looked at him. I said, "I gotta meet him. I gotta meet him after the show." And so my sister and I went backstage with our rabbit coats on. That's when rabbit coats were in style. And the bodyguard was standing there, and he said, "Yes." I said, "Hi, we Richard Pryor's cousins from Peoria, Illinois." And he said,
Peoria?
Peoria. He was from Peoria, Illinois. He said, "Y'all, you're not Richard Pryor's cousin, but y'all are cute. I'm gonna let you come in." So we went in. And we knock on his door, and he opens up the door, and he looks. He said, come in.
Oh.
Come in.
He's a little teenager.
Yeah, and I was going, kick, 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 and he had a fruit basket on his dressing room table, and he said, would you like some fruit? Some nuts? Some nuts? And I was kicking, and so he said, so anyway, that's how I met him, and I'm grateful.
But did he remember that?
No, he
because
didn't
it was
remember.
like
I was
after
sitting across from him, legit, and I said, "Do you remember when I came to your dressing room?" And he said, and because he said something else, he said, "You know, bring him. You can bring him to my hotel room afterwards."
Woo!
And so the bodyguard said, "Okay," and we walked out the door, and he said, "Okay, y'all going on home now?" And I said, "No, Richard told you to bring us to his hotel."
You
And
were so young, you didn't know what was going
I
on.
was young, and I was pure.
That's what I mean. You had no idea.
But anyway, he didn't remember. But it was the most memorable experience. First class all the way. He was just.
And how long did you open
for
for
1
him?
year? I opened.
So you went all around?
Yes, all around Alaska,
Really?
Chicago, New Orleans, New York.
So is that part of your Portraits of Love?
Yes.
Is that part of your one-woman show?
It is part of my one-woman show where
I think we got some of it here, didn't we?
And Tina Turner, I do. Are you ready for me? I'm going to take it back with this song way back to when I was married to gun-toting, hip-hopping, wife beater Ike Turner.
I love
so
that wife beater Ike. Is that what you say?
So I go on to Tina Turner. I do Tina Turner.
Do you dance?
I do a lot of movement and stuff.
What kind of music do you use on your show?
All types. I do Broadway show tunes. I have original tunes that I've written as a result of writing this show with my co-writer Anna Sandor.
And who's directing it?
Benita Brisker.
And where is it?
It's going to be at LA 3rd on 4323 Lemert Boulevard, which is right across from Regency West and
it's in
Barbara
Lemert
Morrison.
Park. And
Lemert.
it's in near Degnan?
Yes, it is. Yes, it
and is there the Lemert Theater still there?
Yes, it is.
Is that area?
Yes, in that area right there. And
but it's only on for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, well, this is actually it's a center where I sing at sometimes.
Oh, you do?
And when I was in meditation one day, the Spirit within said, you need to do your show and start it here. And that's what I'm
so we
doing.
think it'll go?
Oh, yes, that's what I'm
So tell us some of the stories. We heard some of them. I'm sure you're using Judy Garland, right?
Judy Garland, I do Tina Turner, I do my mother. I've written a song about my mother. This is a mother about, and my character. There's a character that I did at the Comedy Store, that Mitzi Shore. I was performing at the Comedy Store in the main room, and I ended up traveling to Vegas when it was the Dunes Hotel, and now it's the Bellagio. I was performing with Jimmy Walker and Finest Henderson and Joey Kamen there in Las Vegas, and so I headlined in Vegas, and so the journey. The journey
and is a show.
The show, The Journey, and starts out, and the character I do is Shirley Dupree, which before Richard saw me, before he got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, he saw me at the Comedy Store doing this character, Shirley Dupree.
Oh, so she's the Shirley Dupree's story in Love. In Love Portraits?
Yes, that story. I won't give it away,
But
Joe.
she tells the story, not Roxanne?
No, I'll tell the story, but
Roxanne.
she's in it, how she came to be about.
I see,
yes,
I see.
Yeah, and Richard saw her, and he says, you're brilliant.
And how is the music taped?
No, I have live musicians.
You have live musicians?
I have live musicians, yes. I love
live
musicians.
What a great show.
Yes, it is a great show, and I'm saying that not from ego. I'm saying it because it comes from my spirit and my
wow.
truth.
So we skipped over part of something that was fun. Tyler Perry. You were on the set with him.
No, Tyler Perry. I've never worked with him. I would love to work with Tyler Perry.
Okay, Tyler Perry. You're on. No, what movie did you make?
Big Mama. It was Martin. Martin
Lawrence.
Big Mama's House 2. I
did. Did he direct those, or he just acted?
No, he just acted in that. But the character Shirley, he saw me at the Comedy Store.
Oh, he did say. So we're bringing.
Lawrence saw me at the Comedy Store, and I ended up doing a lot of people. I have a whole new audience from reruns of my character Shirley. Give it up, doggone it! I didn't come, So anyway, the young folks out here would know Shirley Dupree. I ended up doing 5 episodes of Martin, doing Shirley. Oh,
I see.
And then when he started doing
made the movie, he asked me to come in and do this character.
And so that was an honor to do that for Martin.
And how was the set? Was it funny?
Oh, it was in New Orleans, first of all, one of my favorite cities in the world. It was just before Katrina happened.
So
It was in July. I think Katrina happened in August, and Hurricane Dennis had come through.
Wow.
And so my sisters had come to New Orleans because her job took her there, and my other sister flew in. And when Hurricane Dennis was about to approach, the studio called me and said, Roxanne, we have a Learjet taking all the actors back to LA because they're evacuating the city.
Wow.
I said, I can't leave my sisters. I'm not leaving my sisters. So when Katrina happened, my sister told me later, said, the next time somebody says evacuate, you evacuate.
You go.
But we didn't. It was fine. Dennis just came through, but I thank God that we weren't there in August when it happened. I'm so
You evacuate. We have to leave. We have to evacuate.
We got to go. But I don't want to leave my sister.
Roxy Reese. I love meeting you, and Connie is so great.
Yes.
And thank you for being with
Oh,
us.
thank you, Joan, for asking me. It was my pleasure. Y'all come on out now, okay?
Don't go away. We'll be back with Fran Berger. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're taping here at the Hollywood Museum, and I'm with foodie entrepreneur, Fran Berger, who attended UC Davis and graduated from the University of California at Santa Barbara with a Bachelor of Arts in Dance and a minor in ceramics. I say entrepreneur because she was the owner, founder of The Farm in Beverly Hills, and foodie because she's still in the food business, but now advising on relationship recipes and other things we'll talk about. But I took ceramics at SC with Carlton Ball and Gertrude Natzler and Dora Delarios, but I was never going to be an artist.
No.
Were you?
No, you can't eat and be an artist. And I was really into eating. I like food.
Even in school?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm one of those that have been reading recipes since I was little. I don't know why. It's not that I got to cook a lot. My mother could burn boiling water.
Is that right?
Oh,
and
yeah, she was
and now
horrible.
this is your business?
This is my business. But I've always read recipes. I love reading recipes.
It's kind of like good reading, isn't it?
I think
I think
so.
it's good reading.
I think so.
But you also took dance. Were you going to be a dancer?
18 years.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah, from when I was little.
Was it a
Tone.
passion?
It was. Well, it started out being something that I was doing because my older sister, you know.
Was she a dancer? Or she was
Well,
taking
no,
dance
she was
classes?
taking dance class. And she thought, oh, you know, she'll take dance. All little girls. wanna
Yes,
take
we all
dance.
did.
All of us.
Tap.
And I thought, we did. And I thought, oh, I'll do that because she's doing it,
I
you know.
see.
And then she quit, and I kept going.
Oh, and did you dance professionally?
No, I
But-
have danced at the E-Bell, but that was, you know, right out of college. So
But then were you in a company or something like that?
no, I really wanted to do toe and ballet. My parents were very kind and put up a ballet bar when I was in high school and junior high.
I was going to ask you how you got into food, but getting into food is reading recipes, right?
It is.
But
it
then
is.
how do you take it one step further?
Well, for me, food is all part of a relationship, and it's a relationship with the people that you're with, your family, your friends, and how you feed their souls and how it works together. So for me, that's why I created relationship recipes to create and strengthen those connections.
But that's now. We're talking back in college and talking
Yes.
about, here you are, you have a concept for a restaurant. Was The Farm the first restaurant?
The Farm was the only restaurant, and it was actually a concept that I did not come up with. I massaged it. It started out the first year as Jackson's Farm.
Oh, I
And-
remember that. Oh,
Yeah,
yes, on
yeah,
Beverly.
back in
Was it on
95.
Beverly Drive?
Yes, that location's
And it
still
was
there.
with with
Alan.
Jackson. Oh,
And then a year into it, we decided to part ways. I was the general partner there, and we decided to part ways. And so
he
went
did a
on
lot
to
of
other
catering
stuff.
then.
He did a
and
lot.
And you stayed in kind of, what do we
I
call
stayed
it,
at the
commercial?
farm.
With
Yeah,
the farm?
retail.
Retail,
Yeah,
right.
retail.
So the concept was what?
Well, the concept at the farm was sort of always there. He wanted to do something similar to a Zabar's. like out of New York.
Which was?
Well, it's a very fabulous deli with wonderful whole grain mustard potato salads and
So
fabulous
prepared
fancy
foods?
sandwiches and things like that. That was the original concept. So there was a great big deli case there. But it's right across the street from Nate now.
So people didn't want to buy your potato
No,
salad?
they want regular kind over there, you know. So we changed it up, and it became breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week, 7:30 in the
I
morning.
know, that's amazing,
Yeah.
because how do you keep something going like that? And you kept it going for 20, you were
20
with it
over
20 years, it's still
over
there.
20 years. Yep, it's still there.
still there.
We started in May of '95, and it's still
And
there.
it reflects what you actually started. So how did the case go
Yes.
into just regular breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Well, what we had to survive, and what we found is that people weren't buying the case.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted what was over there, and so we had to offer them something different, something they couldn't get across the street.
But what could
still-
that be?
Well, we Cobb salad that still exists on that menu.
So
we
you
used
put-
to have for many years something called an ahi three ways. I don't know if you remember that. It was tuna tartare and sashimi.
So it was
and all
a
that.
plate.
It was a plate. So our whole thing was a twist on comfort food, something that you could recognize and understand. But good burger, a great sandwich.
And then did it start?
We used to
Opening?
bake everything.
Oh, I was going to ask you about the
Yeah,
bakery. Did you have
yeah.
a bakery in the back?
Well, we did. We used to bake everything upstairs. We made our famous farm brownies.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we still make those. And cookies, we used to bake our own bread. At one point, I had a whole separate facility, a commercial bakery.
So here is the name, the farm, and then you had all these graphics. Who came up with the graphics and the decor?
The decor was really, I used to go shopping for all that stuff.
So tell us what was on the walls.
What was a lot of...
Because it was like
Well, there's
posters.
Several.
and-
The poster was one thing, but there was a lot of old farm implements and farm tools,
right.
and I used to drive hours to find that stuff. So everything that's on those
In
walls-
California?
Yes, Southern California. There's a lot, and everything that's on those walls I picked. Although the license plates that were back by the bathrooms, I got those on the East Coast. And then there's the needle points. All those needle points are mine.
You made them? Or
I
you
do it,
did?
yeah.
Ah,
It's a lunacy
well, that's
of
what I
mine.
mean. The part, and then they're not just all chairs; they're benches.
Yes.
How did you decide to make the tables?
Well, this is part of what I do with relationship recipes. People want to eat in different formats. So what
Right.
So what you want to do is you want to make it, if there's the 10 people coming in for Mother's Day, you need to be able to do that. But if there's someone, like we had once, who they had a first date there, and a year later he asked her to marry him.
At the same
At the same
same
At the
table?
same little table. So you have to be able to do those things too. So that's why I did a lot of 2s and a lot of 4s, so we could move that restaurant, so people could eat
but
with-
not just chairs. And
we only have 4 booths.
is that so?
There's
You had
4.
booths.
There's 4 booths because people like to sit in a booth. They like to feel important.
Were
and
they
sit-
raised or they flat?
They are flat. They're low. They're low. And people have their favorites.
And how do you realize what people like? I mean, when I go into a restaurant, sometimes I want to sit at a table because I feel more comfortable. I can move my chair around.
Well, but that's why we have options. That's why there's options. And that way people can, I mean, if you want a booth, you have to reserve it,
And when
say-
when they come in, do they know exactly what they want?
No. So generally, no,
Right,
nobody,
I mean-
very rarely people know what they want to do.
Because the next thing is talking about your relationships,
Yes.
and do they know exactly? So when they come into your restaurant, do they know what they want?
No, the hostess sends them. We just,
and,
this is
and
where
they're
we have to
okay.
do- 90% of the time, because you put them where the restaurant's going to be able to serve them best.
So from the farm, which
Yes.
you've left,
Yes.
to food, family,
1231.
12:30 food,
12:31.
family, and friends.
Over 40. Food, family, and friends over 40.
Over 40 years
A lot of
old.
alliteration. I'm shameless.
Oh,
I'll
F,
take
F, F,
anybody's.
F.
A lot of F's, and it's Fran. So Fran's
right,
food, family,
right,
and friends.
right.
But
so what's a relationship recipe? Because you say I have recipes for relationships,
They are.
and are they food recipes?
They're related around food and around the table, because for me, everything happens around food and around the table. and you have to make sure that people aren't on their phones.
Well,
you know.
now, exactly.
But they have to be communicating. And when you create food together, when you make food together, and when you eat food together, and people communicate, it builds relationships.
But how do you do that? Here you've got this group over 40 that you say is always on the phone.
Everybody.
And why did you choose over 40? Why not another
Because
age?
it's a group I know. I mean, I'm a lot
What
older
about
than
older
over 40.
50? Older 50, over
David,
50 talk to each other more,
You know,
don't they?
I think that they do, but you know what it is? You know what it is? At 40, people are starting to make transitions. Careers are at a
Family,
point,
right.
families, kids are
Right,
heading
right,
off to
right.
college, and things are transitioning for a lot of women. So,
So give
It's a
us
group
the
that needs it.
approach to
well, I'm going to tell you about
food,
an
family,
event.
and
Yeah,
friends.
I'll give you an example of an event that I just did at the beginning of March. I had a group of 8 women over, and I have
Over where?
Well, this particular event happened at my house.
Okay. But you do events at different people's
Yes.
houses? I see.
Yeah. Different places, different venues. But this particular one was just my latest one, and it was kind of fun. A really adorable Italian chef that I know loves to teach people how to make pasta. He's from Naples, and he's in his early 30s, and he's awfully cute. So a bunch of women would really like to learn how to make pasta from a cute Italian boy. So, well, right?
Right.
So I brought these women in. Some of them knew each other. Several of them didn't know anybody. And because we were then getting our hands in the pasta dough, having to make it, and then he showed us some sauces, and then we ate it. And by
But
the
that's
end
a
of the
relationship for friends, right?
but they didn't know each other.
But they became friends.
They did.
And they chatted.
But you see, those kinds of things can happen for work colleagues. You could do a Sunday
right.
afternoon. You could, you know, in my house, dinner was around the table at 6 o'clock. Every night, dinner was at 6. When the kids were teenagers and they weren't staying home, they were out. If you were in the house, you came to the table. I didn't care if you ate. You could be leaving, but sit. Tell me what happened today. Let's talk about what you did today and what you want to do tomorrow.
But so much of that is lost. And even with
That's why it's
friendships,
important.
because it seems like it's easier to just email somebody than to actually call them up and talk to them anymore.
Well, it is, but this is the interesting thing, because I'm very fortunate. I have a wonderful group of friends, some of them married, some of them not. And part of what I do and make sure with my own personal relationship recipe is I tend to touch them here and there. And I make sure that they know that they're on my mind. Sometimes that's a text that just says, hey, and then they know I'm thinking of them, and I know they've received it. So that's good. But you're right, the phone conversations have died, which is why I like my events.
The one thing with this new endeavor that you're taking, this
yeah,
new endeavor,
it's fun.
you travel,
I do.
you entertain.
Just got back from Italy.
And what were you doing there?
Eating. I was eating food, eating and drinking. I went to Emilia-Romagna with a girlfriend who...
It's totally different kind of food, right?
Completely, yeah. It's all about the cured meats and
And
a
no,
sparkling
not
wine.
tomato, not very much
Very
tomato.
little tomato. They don't grow up, you know.
So that really makes a difference,
Lot of
doesn't it?
cheese.
On the yeah,
Lot of
there you are. I
cheese.
was going to say white and beige instead of tomato
Parmigiano
and
Reggiano and
yeah,
some wonderful things. Seafood over by Ravenna.
Oh, right. But so how do people find out a recipe for an occasion that you would suggest?
Okay, so on my website, there's a whole area for relationship recipes.
I see.
And
And
these
we
are
just go, it's
recipes-
just relationship recipes,
Yeah,
Fran
and
Berger.
You go to franberger.com.
I see.
And then it's relationship recipes. It's a whole section on my website. And I will talk about different recipes. I'll give each one a little thing. I would use this for this reason,
I see.
and this is how it would work well. And I always try and incorporate those little tidbits because not everybody understands what to do with it. But the recipes that I pull, I curate them. I pull them from sites and other people. But they're always one page. They're short. They don't have a lot of ingredients. They're easily done. So even if you're not a cook, you shouldn't be afraid.
Well, we're not going to be afraid. We're going to have you cook for us next time.
Okay. Just don't watch my knife skills and we'll be good.
Oh, you have your own knives.
Oh, I have big knives, but
Big